Very good evening and good morning to everybody in the United States. So I have a little presentation, so I can just share my screen while I walk through all the points. Um, just give me 1 second, share screen. Okay, so as you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so as we walk through, like Navin, as you mentioned, right, immigration comes into picture when the companies, incorporation, and everything is happening, and it is very important. A company feels that one of their representatives, be it from India or any part of the world, right, from other geographies, they want one of their representatives to come to the United States and to handle their businesses, whatever it might be, an information technology or e-commerce or any related. That is where immigration and USCIS come into picture. Now, USCIS, as everybody knows, is the United States Immigration, Citizenship Immigration Services, and handles everything. And um, they approve. It's basically a big office in the United States that most of you might be aware of. Any petitions, be it an L visa, HOE visa, any kind of visas, have to be filed with the USCIS when we are doing it in the United States, and have to be done through a consulate processing. If it is in a different geography, be it in India or Europe or any part of the world. So every country has the consulate offices. Now, when we are talking about the businesses that we have, the e-commerce or the warehouse or any other kind of businesses, the most preferred type of visa is L1A, for specifically for these kind of visas, because this L1A sets apart from the regular H1 visas or the investor visas that is not applicable for India, though. There are a couple of geographies, there are a couple of countries who have different visa categories that they are eligible for. And now if we are specifically talking, L1A is set apart because of its eligibility criteria. Unlike like H1 is into specialty occupation. The e-visas need investor visas. Again, that is for the Canadian region, etc. So as I walk through, I made the presentation so simple for everybody to understand how an L1A visa comes into picture and what it is and how we can get that done. So the L1A visa is a to allow multinational companies to send their executive managers over to the US to work in a branch, affiliate, or office of the overseas parent company. Over here, when I say a parent company,
Geetha,
that USCIS requires or the organization abroad must qualify for you can hear me, right, Navin? Because
yes.
I think my internet, yes. Okay. Must qualify to be a branch, affiliate, or any other offices that they have relation. Like if the parent company is in the US and we have a company in India or we have a company in the UK, they must have a qualifying relationship. It can be a branch, it can be a affiliate, it can be another office, a sister company or a parent company, and vice versa. So it has to be more than 50% ownership. That's very important. So the affiliate relationship, a branch or a subsidiary relationship, makes a company eligible for the L1A visa, but this is only one point, to fall under this criteria. So, but this is considered to be one of the important criteria, and a step one for a company to be eligible to even think about applying an L1A visa. Now, why is the L1A visa considered a very advantageous? Because the minimal qualifications, like say for example, if I'm talking about H1, we need to ensure the beneficiary is qualified, having specialty occupation knowledge, comes from an IT background. But for L1A, it's the qualification a person should be having is minimal. It's just that any company, like a warehouse company in India, and it's been like 3 years the company has been set up, and the beneficiary whom the company wants to be sent to the US, the minimum criteria is 12 months of working experience with the same company. If it is a CEO, he needs to have all the pay stubs for 12 months. We need to show evidence like how this beneficiary, whoever is being recommended for an L1, has been tied up with the company in India or with a company in Europe. It's very important to show the beneficiary has been engaged or has been working in an executive capacity in the foreign company, wherein we can take it as India over here. Plus, and we also have to show evidence what the person is going to do in the US. So the reason why I'm saying the qualifications are minimal, USCIS would not see if, if he is done a master's or, any other great PhDs or something like that. They would want to see that, the beneficiary is holding a professional degree and understands the business well. So over here, when you talk about L1A visa, another important category that USCIS wants to see is if the beneficiary we are proposing for an L1A visa is handling a function of the organization or is in an executive managerial capacity. When I say function, like for example, we can take the warehouse over here, say some ABC company is there, and the beneficiary whom we are recommending the L1A visa wants to manage only the warehouse part of the organization. The company might be doing various types of businesses. We can categorize this beneficiary to fall under functional manager and handle the warehouse business for the company in the US. Versus there is another category. This is applicable mostly to the IT companies, executive managerial capacity or a multinational managerial capacity, wherein the beneficiary is handling multiple geographies. So these are the two types of visa categories we can show that, an L1A beneficiary is eligible for. So under this visa, we can have the managers and executives stay in the US. The first request for this visa is up to 3 years. Initially, USCIS might also approve only for 1 year, and then, we have to file extensions. So this visa category is, the max out time is for only 7 years. And I think this visa is also very good in terms of, when we come over here on a non-immigrant visa, it also leads you to apply for an immigrant intent visa, which is ultimately the GC. So L1A visa is set apart for the kind of qualifications it has. And, it's easy for somebody to get a green card ultimately, given we have all the evidences, all the the beneficiary working, and we need to show every evidence to the USCIS that the company is organizing and functioning in a proper manner as filed in the petition. So the L1A visa, now these are all the generic terms that I have spoken about L1A visa, but however, when the incorporations comes into picture, L1A visa is also, I think now the new warehouse offices or, the e-commerce or anything that is coming to picture will most likely fall under a L1A new office. This is a different picture of the L1A visa as opposed to a general L1A when we file to an IT company or, any other companies that have already been existing in the US. So when I say L1A new visa, somebody from India, somebody from Europe, an organization that has already been existing in another geography and wants to open up in the United States, I'm sure Ajay and Navin would have already spoken about it. So when they are trying to set up their offices over here, the incorporations should be done, all the federal regulations should be followed. USCIS, when you're applying for this visa, would want to see all the evidences. It is going to audit and then only approve all these kind of petitions. So L1A visa is apart from other visas, like I mentioned earlier, J1, O1, L1A is very, very different from the other types of visas. So it is very important for you to know that L1A visa is initially granted only for 3 years or 1 year, as opposed to something like an H1, which is for 3 years. So Navin, can I go into this next slide?
Yes, please. Wonderful.
So when we'll talk more about L1A, L1 visa as for the new office requirements. For the L1A visa, the specific requirements that must be met and to open up an office is you must be able to present evidence that you are an employer, has a rented or a building. Prior even to doing an L1A visa, you must have all these set up in the US. You must have enough room to show to USCIS that the beneficiary whom you're applying for the L1A visa is going to come and sit in here in the US. Where is he going to sit? So you need some office space. You need to show proper lease agreements. If you are buying an office, you need to show all those evidences to the USCIS in the petition. So this is the basic groundwork that you will want to consider. You should be considering everything prior to filing a visa petition. So in the 3 years leading up to L1 visa application, you must have been employed with the company for at least one continuous year as an operating manager or executive. Now, this also comes into picture when the foreign national or the beneficiary whom we are applying from the foreign country. Here we can consider as Europe or India. The beneficiary should have been mandatorily working with the foreign company for at least 12 months. So one of the best evidences that USCIS would see is the offer letters, the pay stubs, etc. And we have to make sure the beneficiary is meeting this criteria and also would continue to be operating in a similar executive position in the US. It's very, very important to have all the evidences for the USCIS to show that the petition is strong, right? And you must you must prove that the L1A, L1 visa new office will achieve the doing business standard within 1 year of having L1 petition approved. Now, in the petition, we are going to talk about how and what the business is going to do over here. We are going to set expectations to the USCIS that we are going to grow, this so and so revenue. We are going to do the local hiring. There are a couple of things that USCIS has mandatorily asked for this new types of visas. So in my next slide, you will see what doing business is. Doing business means that your branch or office is regularly providing goods or services in a way that is systematic. This term cannot be used for an office in which an employee is just simply present. They must be doing the business of what we are going to show it in the petition. So business must be conducted in order to qualify for this kind of a visa. As a manager, you must be able to hire, fire, control daily tasks of the employees in the new office. As an executive, you must be able to make larger decisions about the direction and operations of the company without significant supervision. Now, an L1A new office visa or an L1A functional manager or an L1A executive managerial must be supervising his team. He should not be in a position where he does all the work. He or she will be in a position to make the work done, and he must be in a position to form his teams, do local hirings in the United States, and at the same time he must have been coming through a similar role back in the foreign country from where he's being sent on this visa. So my next slide will also talk about the steps. The first step to opening the L1 new visa office in the US is to rent, purchase premises. I'm sure Ajay and Navin would have covered this in this. Sorry, Navin, I was a little late to come to the meeting. So even though these businesses are conducted exclusively online these days, the USCIS still requires that you maintain a physical location in the US in order to qualify for this visa. Therefore, it's usually a good practice or idea to have sufficient space. Like if you want to show to the USCIS, 2 or 3 people are sitting, you want to, USCIS is going to audit like how much SFT, is the lease agreement saying about, and how are you going to make like 6 people sit in a smaller space. That is very important. So USCIS is going to audit everything that we file in the petition. So very important. Physical location in the US is mandatory, and USCIS is going to look at all the evidences. You should also have a robust L1A visa business plan. Sorry?
I have a quick question regarding bullet one, and
Yes.
very important for everyone hearing it out too. If I was an Indian company, started my new company here in the US, and
Mhm.
I do an agreement, let's say with Alan for warehouse, and for
Mhm.
all the goods that I have with Alan in Alan facility. Now, what can this facility be counted as? As an office, as a space? I mean, can it go? Can my petition have such a facility be used as my office space, or in what capacity it can be used?
So yes, so with Alan, right? If you're talking, you have the L1A petition is going to be filed. You should mandatorily have an office for your company. So even if you're tying up with Alan to use his office space, or use his warehouse where you will have your employees sitting, it is mandatory for you to have an agreement with Alan showing, this is the office space, because USCIS would want to see the evidences, right? So you need to have that agreement very properly written, under legal terms and conditions. And then, of course, you can show the office space that you will be using.
And that office space can be Alan's if I'm paying him for 1 year office.
Yes, you need to have all the paperwork in place. You can definitely do that, but you cannot show that Alan is, there is a citation in the USCIS for a third party placements, but not for L1A. That is only for L1B visas. So, you have to show that, your company is operating and has an agreement with Alan's office that you will be. It's basically like a, lease agreement, right, wherein you show your folks are sitting in Alan's office.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much.
So I hope this
Yes,
answered
yes, it
your
does.
question.
Right. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, so now coming to the second point, this is the most important point that the USCIS now is screwing up the applications, because I think because of the COVID, we have seen cases wherein a business plan was submitted in 2019, got approved in 2020, but because of the COVID, the businesses could not meet the requirements or the criteria that they have specified in the business plan. So we do have, we do have teams that work on exclusive business plans for new offices, and that business plan will talk about the financial projections, the hiring, and the hiring process in the United States. How much of revenue growth do you expect for the next 5 years for the businesses? So these things are very important to show that the new office that is going to be set up in the US is going to generate revenue and improvise the economy for the United States. So USCIS considers this very, very important, and the business plan is very critical for an L1A new visa office. We do not need L1, the business plans for the companies that have been already existing in the business, like say for about 5 to 7 years or something like that. But any new office needs to submit a business plan, a very vast business plan that will talk about all the projections, what the business is going to do, what kind of goods they're going to sell, how much revenue do they expect in the first year, second year, third year, the quarterly, everything in detail. So, but we have seen that USCIS, very often issues RFEs for these business plans. So very important for a new office to consider, doing the business plans in a very efficient and an effective way to be submitted to the USCIS with the petition.
So, Geetha,
So
one quick question here. Sitting from
yes.
India, they may not realize the kind of business plan they can be creating because, so how can they get an help here in the US working with an expert to create the business plan? How does it work out? I mean, do they have to do their own or they have to have someone?
So I have seen, yeah, Navin, we have the teams who could, help us with making a very, very efficient business plan. I would not recommend, doing the business plan by themselves, the beneficiary or the organization, because it is very critical. And we, the expert teams who do this business plans do advise you on what information that you need to include, right? If you're saying like, my projections, like I'm just doing a 50K business, then that's not going to work out. So there are some key points that the experts will advise in terms of this business plan. And I would not recommend an organization to just do that on their own, because I have seen some of the major businesses being issued RFEs only for these business plans.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, that's a very critical point for everyone to keep note of.
Yes, a business plan is a very, very key and critical thing for an L1A new office.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, please carry on.
So again, this is more to do with incorporation, but I wanted to have this in my slide because it helps you understand. The new office must be formed into a taxable entity. Many employers choose to have, it might be a profit or non-profit, but many employers choose to have the entity become a corporation or a LLC. To do this, you need to file, you need to have everything, the information articles, everything that needs to be compliant and with the Department of State, in particular, in whichever state they chose to be. Right, I think Ajay definitely would have covered these key points on the incorporations. So because the L1A is only granted for one initial year, typically new office L1As are only given for 1 year versus the L1A visas that we do for already existing business clients are, based on the evidence that we provide, can be given up to 3 years. Typically, new offices are restricted for 1 year, and at the end of 1 year, when we file an extension, we file an apply for an extension, we have to show all the evidences of how much hiring we did and what we have submitted in the petition. When the new office L1A initially would have been submitted, we would have given this business plan which talks about the projections. We have to let the USCIS know during the time of extension how much of the projections in the business plan that we submitted initially has the company met at this point. Like in the 11th month or in the 10th month, when we file for the extension, we must be in a position to show to the USCIS that we have, reached this point. Like say, if I'm committing to hiring 5 people in the US, I must be able to show all clear evidences that this person is on a W2. This person is working for the company right now. This person has been offered the employment. So all the evidences that has been provided in the business plan. If you are saying I'm doing $2 million of business, in the business plan I must be able to show whether I met the criteria or not is a different scenario. But providing all the truthful information to USCIS is important, and we also need to ensure the business is doing and performing of what has been submitted in the business plan to the USCIS. So this all comes into picture when we apply for an extension for the initial L1A visa after the approval has come in.
So
So the
Geetha, my
purpose of
question, Geetha, can I ask a
yes,
question?
sure.
When you said hiring 5 employees, is there some a minimum number that we have to ensure that we have hired?
Um, Generally, I would not limit to saying like, I'll just hire 1 or 2 people. I would like USCS doesn't have a minimum number, but we want to show a number that that looks generic, right? Like if 5 members or 6 members would also show my projections being reached, would also show I'm doing good as a company. So there is no minimum criteria, but for the numbers, but definitely, at least 3 to 5 people is more good number to show.
Okay, now my second question in relation to this is that first of all, I have to be there. So once my business plan is ready, L1A, let's say, is granted. So I
Mm-hmm.
enter, I mean, the 1 year stipulation is there. Now, should I
Mm-hmm.
wait for some time, or should I just, because L1A is for 1 year, at the end of 1 year, I have to resubmit my application. So I should not wait any longer in India, just come to US and start my work. Is that the kind of recommendation you will give?
So see, what happens is when USCIS issues the approval notice, there is another linked process that we help, going to the consulate, getting the stamping done and all. So when at the time of stamping is when USCIS would give your date of the beneficiary to be able to come and work in the United States. So the clock starts ticking from, say, for example, after the approval has come in the USCIS, within the United States, and say from January 1st, 2023. So we have time until, typically at least 3 months ahead ahead of time, we would want to file the extension. So that is when the clock starts actually ticking. So I would not wait until the last minute to, file for an extension. I would definitely start working on my petition a little ahead of time. So does this answer the question, or sorry if you had anything?
When I'm granted L1A visa in India,
Uh-huh.
so my 1 year
Mhm.
starts from that day. 1 year starts from when?
So that's what. So say, for example, we filed, we got an approval today from the USCIS. It will have an approval date of September 1 to sometime August 31st, 2023. So 1 year granted. But after the approval is in hand, we have another process of the beneficiary going to the consulate, whether it's in India or in Europe. The consular officer also has, sometimes they determine, if the petition is very strong, they determine, you don't have to, because given the COVID situations right now, the way consulate officers are working is they might do a waiver. Hey, you have you can just submit your passport and get your visa. But most of the times, these kind of visas, what the consulate officers want you to come to the consulate office. So the time is involved in, having the DS-160 file, getting your consulate appointment. Then once your visa is approved, the consulate officer will have a different date for you. So that might be a January 1st, 2023, from then to 1 year. So versus what is there on the approval. Because it's pretty weird that we go through all the situations, but the USCIS approval has one date, and a beneficiary can only come into the United States after the consulate officer has approved the dates. So that might be a different one. So I'm saying the clock might start ticking once this process is completed and the date that has been issued on the visa. So that, the scenarios are different. So the approval, the one that we receive in the United States, date cannot be considered for, the beneficiary to come immediately and start working. You need to go through the visa process.
Wonderfully answered. Thank you very much, Geetha. Please carry on.
Yeah. So the purpose of every non-immigrant visa is to stimulate the local economy and to provide more jobs to the US workers. That is what, USCIS wants to see. Because of this, USCIS usually wants to see that you have added US citizens to your workforce. This is one important, if somebody is coming from India and setting up the company over here, USCIS would also see how much of workforce have you added, and hired people here locally. So, or are you bringing from India, and what kind of visas there? So typically, like you said, B1, B2 cannot work in the US. That is illegal to do so. They can attend the business meetings and all, but for somebody on an L1, they can do local hiring for US citizens, GC holders, or other types of visas, who meet the eligibility criteria. So you want to be very careful of what information is being submitted initially to the USCIS, and ensure that you are meeting whatever has been submitted to the USCIS. So that's why, if you're saying in the hiring process, when you submit your initial petition that, hey, I'm going to hire so-and-so in the US, you have to meet the criteria. So that's going to be very, very critical again.
So let me ask one thing again, Geetha.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you because these questions are...
No. I'm happy to answer.
Wonderful. Okay, now let's say I got my company, I got my visa stamped, and visa stamped is January 1 to 2023. Now, from the hiring perspective, do I have to, first of all, do I have to hire somebody on W2 only? That is one question, or it can be 1099, that is a contract basis. My second question is...
No. Yes. So yeah, go ahead. I'll answer everything together.
Okay. And then the hiring starts before I travel, or after I am there, or can I do it before also?
So you can, the hiring process can also be, started as soon as your office is set up over here with, the payroll set up, you have everything set up, and the beneficiary is, starting to work over here. As long as you have all the legal and federal regulations met for the company, and you have everything set up for a beneficiary to be hired, given the offer letter, start, the health benefits, the compensations and everything, plus the payroll, then you're all set. Even if you haven't still traveled to the USCI, to the United States, you can still have the beneficiary start over here. So that is point one. And second one, USCIS does not, if you're saying in your business plan that, hey, I'm going to hire three people on W2 and three people in the, on a contracting basis, you can. But typically, USCIS considers full-time employees, which is W2, to be a part of your hiring processes. You can add contractors. It's not that you cannot, but W2s are most considered.
Okay. And from the now my last question, it appears. And from the salary perspective, it is my company. And as an owner of my own company, I'm here on L1A. Now, what kind of salary do I expect giving myself, or can I be funded from India itself? And is there any limit that I have to maintain giving myself, let's say, because my position is such, so I have to pay myself $60,000, or can I pay myself $30,000, and then and on the same lines for my employees or contractors?
Right. So funding, whether, you move your funds from the Indian entity to the US, that's all, again, falls under the regulations and, federal. As long as you take care of that, that's fine. You need to have funds. There's no minimum number that I could tell you saying, hey, Navin, this is the number you should ensure to have it in the bank account. But when you need to pay salaries to your, to employees and to yourself, you need to have funds in the company's account. So as long as you're able to pay them, it doesn't matter how much is the limit you have in your bank accounts, versus like how much you're trying to pay to the folks, whomever you employ. It is important for, if you're hiring people on the US, if you're getting somebody who is a US citizen, or if you're getting H1B worker or somebody else on an L1 from India, you need to ensure they are paid. They are paid per the local regulations. You need to ensure, most of these states have this minimum wages. So you want to ensure, check what are the minimum wages of that state. Like California might be different, Texas might be different, New Jersey might be different. So there is a website for Department of Labor for you to check, like, say, what is the minimum wage for the New Jersey, and based on that you can fix an compensation for the employee. But it doesn't matter how much of money you would want to ensure that you have money when the payroll is happening. So there is no minimum criteria, but importantly, you need to pay to the beneficiaries you hire. So and pay all your
and it has to be full-time employees, or they can be part-time?
Full-time is preferred. USCIS always considers full-time, but there is no mandatory condition over here that they cannot be a part-time. Again, like when we file the petition, if you're doing an L petition or a H, there is a question which answers this part of the USCIS. I'm going to say this beneficiary is only going to work 20 hours a week. I'm only going to say, this beneficiary will work 30 hours a week. So as long as we provide information to the USCIS, you're good. It doesn't matter.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please carry on.
Yes. So scenario one, I have two scenarios over here. Existing office of a company not related to the foreign parent entity. So if there is no relationship, then the eligibility criteria for the L visa has not been met. In case an entity based in the US is not an affiliate or a subsidiary of the foreign parent company, it is essential for you to have a parent company relationship through the way of acquisition. This is one way that we could do. I've seen a lot of companies do use this. Acquire a company, be it in the United States or be it in the India, but importantly, have all your paperwork done, right? There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done when a company is acquired. So as long as we are able to show and prove there is an existing relationship between the parent company, versus with the company in India, or with the United States. The affiliate, the subsidiary relationship, or a sister company, as long as we show proper evidence that the USCIS requires, the eligibility criteria for the L1 visa is met. USCIS will verify documentary evidences in such cases, such as financial statements, the IRS documents in the United States, investment documents, anything related to the company. And also, Naveen, I wanted to highlight to everyone over here. So when we are trying to submit the paperwork with the USCIS will send auditors. Most of the times, if I'm saying, the company is set up over here, it is very common for an USCIS officer to make site visits, confirm before approving the petition as well. So they might come to the offices and check like what has been submitted, and they might cross question the people over here. Even if you're sitting in India and you're in the process of doing this, and we have applied for the L visa, USCIS might reach out to you via email or phone, or on any number that has been provided in the documents. So we want to ensure consistency, and what all documentary evidences we are providing to the USCIS in the petitions are accurate, and everything, all the evidences have been met. Very, very important. So incorporation of new office, in case a new office is being incorporated in the United States, then the registered office in the United States must be 100% owned. Again, this is typically either the US company is a parent company or the Indian company is a parent company. But typically more than 50%. Here we say it should be a 100% owned subsidiary, vice versa. It can be here or in India. So this subsidiary and affiliate relationship must be met. This is again, the reason I'm highlighting is if this criteria is not met, then there is no way a company is qualifying for the L1A visa. So this relationship can also be evidenced by any operating agreements. Like again, when the articles of incorporations and everything is done, when the company is formed, we need to ensure everything is properly documented. My final slide, very essential things to keep in mind for a new office. Again, this is a business plan is mandatory, an effective business plan. Obtaining an office lease or office space, you can buy it or you can lease it, you can do anything, but we need to have evidences with the paperwork. Company registration, forming the company, the documents, organizational charts. USCIS wants to see the beneficiaries hierarchy, whether he's in a supervising position or does he do the work himself, which doesn't qualify for the L1 visa. It is in the executive managerial capacity. Hiring personnel, the beneficiary who is on an L1 visa would want to hire, fire, do all the executive decisions for the company, and maximizing chances of getting the first year extension. This is very important. This part is all based on the top 1 to 5 points that I have highlighted over here. So with this, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Naveen, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, now before I ask questions, there are questions here which I would love to ask you first. Geetha, just give me 1 second. Okay, so let me ask you.
Hi, madam. Hello.
Just hold on, sir. Write down the question there and we'll address it one by one.
Hello.
Manvi, can you mute everyone, please? Okay, so now Shikhar is asking, Geetha, so you mean to say that if we tie up with Ellen's office and fulfill all formalities of lease, then his office can be counted as our office and we can apply for L1A and it won't violate any policy. So we just need to rent an apartment and further expand our business for growth. Please advise if this makes sense.
Yes. So as long as you lease, do any agreements, in purchasing an office space, or you are, tying up with Alan's office, you need to ensure you have all the documentary evidences to show that you're leasing the space. But importantly, this beneficiary is going to be on your payroll. You cannot show this beneficiary. I think I did not mention this point, but it is very important that Navinji's company is paying this beneficiary, although he's sitting at this office. right? So we are going to say Naveen ji is tied up with Alan, and the lease agreement will talk about how much space we are using, everything that has to be for a typical office to be. And Naveen is going to pay. Naveen's company is going to pay to this beneficiary. So it's very important that he is there on the payroll. It's just limited to the office space and the agreements, but you cannot have this beneficiary on Alan's payroll. So I hope I've been able to
Yes.
answer.
Yes, yes, got it, got it. Very important, very critical point. Having an office space or rent or leasing Alan's facility does not mean that people on Alan's payroll become your employees, right? That's a very,
Yes,
very
yes.
different. Okay, thank you very much. Now, Geetha, just because you said that, one question that comes to my mind, uh, as an owner of the company, I'm not, nobody can fire me because I am the CEO. Now I can fire myself. Now, in those scenarios, even L1A are granted to people who are the owners, or they have to send their employees only.
No, a CEO can travel over here. CEO, CFO, anybody from, say, for example, you are coming over here from India over here, and you are applying. It's like, again, the criteria is should have, your company should have been existing for the past 1 year, at least 1 year, and you should have, again, you must be taking some kind of a payroll, some kind of a pay from your Indian entity. So pay stubs come into picture. So these are the and another critical thing is, at least you would have some kind of a team in India that you would have been managing. So USCIS would want to see what you have been doing in India, prepare a nice org chart wherein you say Naveen is, handling 20 employees, and these employees again have teams, blah, blah, blah. There's like a little bit of, workaround and the org chart that we need to show. So are you as a CEO or a CEO or a CFO can come to the United States as long as you have been meeting this eligibility criteria back in India.
Got it, got it, got it. Well, we don't have, I think a lot of people will be doing a lot of thinking, Geetha. And thank you very much. I don't want to hold you up. This is a working day, and I know you have a deposition to attend today. And I
Yes.
right. Okay, I know that. So I won't, okay, Shikhar has asked one more question, and let's wrap it up after that. This is the last question, people. And then after that, we'll just within 2-3 minutes, we'll wrap it up. The question is, he says, thank you to you, Geetha. My last question for today is, if we are applying for L1A, so what should be the minimum money one has to meet all 1 year expenses, considering for the company working in e-commerce business and exports?
So I cannot give a number, it's case by cases again, like, how much business you do in India, how much business are you going to expect for you to grow in the United States. It's all case by case. I cannot say USCIS want you to show like a, $1 million revenue over here, what you do in India. We would want to evaluate the case first, and then come up with a number. So this comes into picture when we start working on the business plan. So, but as long as you have money for yourself to travel, as long as you have money for you to pay the lease, office space leases, and when you have, you know how much investment you will need, like to hire two people, three people, right? So this is like case to case, and we need to evaluate it properly to say what is the projection that we will be giving, plus how much amount you will need to invest upfront before you start all this.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Geetha. Thank you for beautiful insight. We are over the limit time, but that happens every time. Everyone, I would request to fill up the form who are looking for such service. Remember everyone, this is a generic information, case by case basis. This is not a legal opinion. And to get started, I mean, you see, in such matters, I promise you, anyone try to reach Geetha, and if you can, just tell me, let me know that you could reach Geetha. You cannot reach Geetha that easy.
Yeah.
You cannot reach Ajay that easy. It may appear to you that they are here, or Alan. It will take you some good time, some good weeks before Geetha says, yes, tell me. So you made the best use of it. Please remember, every word said by Geetha is very important to consider. It's not a legal opinion. It's case by case basis. Fill up the form, and I will work with you. My team will work with you. It's a conglomerate. Please keep in mind, we are all based out of New Jersey. all together. It's one big team working to make things happen. I wouldn't hold you saying that, we are making these strides because there is anti-China thing. There is immense interest. IRS is putting in $4 billion into managing the requests coming in to form companies to multiple ways. I mean, there is so much happening in the US, other than saying what the market is doing and what the inflation is doing, but the business is still happening. People are still buying stuff. Opportunity is humongous. You have to have right team. You have to have right people. Now with Ajay, with Alan as a warehouse, Ajay is an expert in company formation, compliances, and Geetha is an expert on L1A. I mean, we talk about L1A, but she can talk about L1B, she can talk about H1A. Here, our focus is for the manufacturers in India who want to expand business further, and they are coming to the US market. Well, thank you, Geetha. I won't hold you. I will say thank you very much. I'm just going to end
Thank you.
it up.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Absolutely, my friend. This is amazing, amazing dialogue.